This means a lot. This means a lot, Spiky. Thank you so much. It means a lot. We love you, by the way. We love you. I mean, those few fans, I'm part of those, so I'm hoping, okay? I'm hoping. But yeah, I mean, they need to ban Wukong, and they should be fine, apparently.
Yeah, I feel like if Jojo was a superhero, he'd be Captain Obvious, because the idea that, like, you know, he's kind of good at Wukong, like, maybe we should ban it. Yeah, like, no crap, Jojo. He's been really good at that champion. But you see a lot of teams that just don't necessarily have the priority for it, and it's a big question in terms of those further nerfs. Does it eliminate? But I think a lot of the opinions we've heard is it's still good, it's just not the best champion in the game anymore.
I'll raise you this as well. I was casting Division 2, and we see a lot of Wukong top lane. So the clear in the jungle is a little bit slower now with the E, but on the top lane, you're still a menace. You can go for the Divine Sunder, and you can close your gap versus Nars and all that. It has been working. So you might see a shift from Wukong to top, from jungle to top. Now, how can Singularity actually win versus Bifrost?
You want me? Oh,
curveball.
I want to talk about that guy. It's Persson. It's one of the substitutes. I think he's a very interesting player in the sense that for this past year, he has very much been a fireman. It started back in Denmark in winter 2021. He subbed into Absolved in the Danish Winter League, and he helped them to playoffs. He helped them win a couple of series there. Then NLC Division 2 raid, a struggling roster that was starting to pick up some form, but they really needed that big boost. Sub in Persson. They went to 3rd place, I believe, in the regular season. Yes, they did bomb out of playoffs against Lundqvist Lightside, but they looked very strong heading into that. And now Singularity subbing him in as well. We've seen an instant improvement in the fact that they are getting closer to that first win. And with the help of the top side and mid lane substitution as well, it feels like that win is getting very close.
Another strength they have is Scrudy. And now that we have him for a few games, you can finally look into him, look into the stats as well. I know Nightmare is getting nervous with stats, but we need to look into Scrudy and what can we expect. Look at this. This is popping.
Yeah, for me, Scrudy, very much a player that's at the precipice of the NLC for a long time now. Obviously played on that Atlanta Mania roster that almost made it in if things would have ended up going that way. And I think, although the stats are limited in the sense of there's obviously not a wide breadth of games, but it's fair to say that he's made his splash coming in. I feel like he's very much a jungler who is an example of someone that plays for himself. And although with champions like the Belveth coming through, that's a very good style to play for in contrast to a lot of other teams.
And I think it's a beautiful highlight, right? It might only be 2 games, but he has hit the ground running. We sometimes see players come in, they're a little bit nervous, they're playing on the big stage. How are they going to perform? Like being able to outperform every single jungler in the league as soon as you come in, that is extremely impressive to me. And I think Scrudy will definitely be the key to unlocking their first victory.
What about Bifrost, though? We talk a lot about Odie, we talked about his champion pool. If we don't see Odie in one of those carry champions, could this be Singularity first victory? What can we expect for Bifrost?
It shouldn't be. For me, Bifrost just have so much individual talent, and although it's difficult for them to click on some ways, it shouldn't be the case that they're falling here. I feel like it's really time to end the Belveth experiments for me. Stranger things have happened than seeing that win, but let's not go into the upside down too far. You know, let's really just need to get rid of this Belveth champion. It's not doing any favors.
Final words.
Keeping the talk on the junglers, I think with those Wukong nerfs, what are they going to go for if they're going to go for something in the early game as a jungler where you're able to free your lanes well? Do I have a deal for you? Volibear. Volibear is such a strong pick. I know DiamondProx hasn't played it, but this is the last time you can abuse the bear before he gets nerfed in 12.13. Please, Bifrost, I beg you. But I think DiamondProx would be a great fit on the champion if he's able to play it.
I think if he picks the champion, everything will go down. DiamondProx is too powerful on the bear. That's why he didn't pick it so far. But talking about picks, let's jump into champion select. Bifrost versus Singularity. Hit it. Oh my, okay, that was a start and that was almost my desk running away. As we have 3 bans on both sides already. There you go. Twitch, GP, Seraphine, Wukong, Yuumi, and Senna.
And that's a big question that's been asked here, and now we talk about where does the B1 prior lie. It is the Kalista. It's not the Volibear, unfortunately, Duckling. You're the worst salesman on the NLC broadcast. I'm going to be selling you something different here. The Kalista's coming through. It's a champion we see a lot of in terms of, you know, a problem is that there are obviously a lot of counters. It's something you want to go towards. You maybe want to get the Renata paired up with it, a lot of these kill lanes, and then you can play towards that. But to me, this speaks to a Bifrost roster that is not going to be beating around the bush today. They know who they want to play for. They want to play for Odie, and that Kalista pick really signifies that. In response, though, wouldn't be surprised to see the Lilia come out. It's obviously a champion we've seen from Scrudy.
I'm incredibly happy to see that, right? The Lilia, he had such a strong performance of it going up against Nuriki, so just running it back, I mean, you were so close to getting the victory then. What would deny you from getting that victory now?
This to me is the exact opposite of what I was expecting. We heard the interview where they were talking Bifrost love to go for those early fights. They want to fight off.
Oh,
it happened.
Please.
The first time ban for DiamondProx.
Yes.
He got it! He got the
figured it
bear.
out.
Okay, it's an obvious thing, but he never picked it before.
figured it
So
out.
finally,
The champ is broken, guys. You can abuse it. I can abuse it when I get home because he's been nerfed, but yo, patch behind.
What's your elo?
Please. I haven't been able to play since last time. I'm still
Good.
Diamond 2.
hey, it's something.
He's
Better than
Diamond 2.
Jamada.
He's Diamond 2, and have I got news for you? This is the detective duo, Don and Duck here. We've figured out the case here. We've cracked it. Can Singularity crack the case of getting that win here? They've taken the Lucian and the Lilia here. That's a lane, if you think about the Lucian can go into the mid lane as well, that's a lane that automatically generates prior and means that Scrooty can facilitate that more aggressive style into DiamondProx, who is going to be full clearing, looking for that gank around the 3-minute mark. This could be the unlocking here. We need to see what goes on the R3 here. Do they pivot towards the Nami to get that strong 2v2 against the Kalista Nautilus, or do they keep that flex in posit, in transition?
I think, right, if you don't go for the Nami here or pick another support as the Braum, that's also a very strong lane, you know, getting the resets on the Lucian auto attacks when you use an ability. You're able to get 2 procs, and that concussive blow stacks incredibly quickly, so the damage in this lane will be immense. I'm very excited to see how that goes down, but also very happy to see the fact that they're banning the Corgi away. We saw how it could cost some teams a victory. We saw it with the Riddle game last Monday as well. You know, late game Corgi can definitely win you some team fights, and glad to see it banned.
And for me, the key to the Bifrost composition, very much a 90s boy band Archerim. They've got to be in sync because it's baby dive, dive, dive. They've got to stay on toe in terms of the Nautilus and the Kalista. They want to go under the turret. The Volibear wants to disable that as well. What do they then build in the others? For me, you need stable solo lanes here on B4, B5.
Singularity are in danger for that bot lane to just derail in favor of Bifrost, so they need to protect themselves. And now we can look into the mid lane. Fury's Akali and Corki has been banned, but talking about the Ahri, talking about the Veigar, we know he has a bigger champion pool, so is this good?
He's got that champion pool, and it's one of the things when Jamada highlighted Fury as a player when he was back on Singularity, actually, when he highlighted him on the LEC, one of the things he was talking about is the Corki, the Akali, how he has that single carry potential. It's not necessarily something we've seen from him more recently, more so he's playing the Ahri, he's playing the more facilitator role, but he has that in his back pocket at any time. Although Odie is the primary carry of this roster, he's got a few cards in his wheelhouse that we might not yet see from Fury.
The Nara is still available, and we know Shikari usually goes for that one to make sure that the rest of the team is comfortable in terms of picks. Let's see what they're going to pick on Singularity side. Is this going to be the mid laner or the top laner? It's still a hover. We would like to see the mad scientist, but it's not going to happen. No, you're just making my mind go boom as you're hovering that Ashe. It's not going to happen.
That is locked in.
Yeah, it's locked in.
But it's not a support Ashe, though, because they already have that role. So it's an AD carry Ashe, Lucian mid?
So the bad thing here for me is that they break the flex on 4 here and they want to play for the counter pick. That's where the kind of priority lies for them. But the problem here is that you can get very strong counter pick here and you see Fury's hovering at Azir. He knows he can take a lane here that he's comfortable with, but that obviously means they're going to get the top counter pick. But for me, Shikari can just play Gnar into anything here. I think you just lock Gnar and you don't really care about what Sips has to offer unless it's like something like, I don't know, like a Darius maybe on R5, but it doesn't really fit what you picked here. Pantheon Hover is going to come through. That's a bit of respect from people.
It was played today, okay? I'm letting you all know the Pantheon was picked at LCK.
Oh.
By T1.
A T1?
Yeah, they brought in Conqueror, so I'm sad, but still, it was picked.
We're rattling
waiting,
down.
then maybe it might actually happen. I mean, if T1 do
you can't.
the timer's running low. They're really teasing you here.
I don't see it.
It's running low.
It's a good pick versus the Gnar, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Camille is way stronger than that, and they need a counter pick to make sure that Shikari falls on the lane. So we got the teams. We know the stakes for this game. Final words, and who do you think is going to take it?
I'm incredibly happy to see DiamondProx on that Volibear. I mentioned it before, and with that Volibear coming through, I will give my vote to Bifrost.
It's Bifrost for me, just in terms of ease of execution. I feel like what Singularity has built here, I like them seeing and carrying on the style of which we know has worked for them previously. But it's an uphill battle, I think it's fair to say, just from the onset of the two different teams. But yeah, Bifrost for me in terms of ease of execution.
This could be the first victory for Singularity. By the way, the last time in Spring Split, when they won, they had 13 losses straight. So this could be it yet again in Summer Split. Without further ado, let's toss it to the casters as they're doing some shenanigans as usual. It's the brother duo, Nightmare and Initialize.
So, what are we gonna do today, Al?
Well, I'm just admiring the artwork behind us. Oh my gosh, sorry, I didn't see that.
Oh, sorry.
Welcome to game 1 of the NLC, where we were
Welcome.
totally not distracted by our beautiful gradient on the background.
It's like the Hypnotoad, but for like, I don't know, NLC and various sponsors, which is probably slightly alarming actually now I think about it, but there you go. Welcome, one and all, to the NLC Game 1, where we've got Bifrost off the back of a frustrating couple of games
Yes.
with some interesting drafts and lane priority issues, etc., which really didn't work out for them against Singularity, who were really close, honestly, to taking a win yesterday. 2 days ago.
How many times have we said that about Singularity now?
Quite a few.
But it is, again, worth saying, you know, praise them for where that praise is really due. Scrooty has started to lead this team from the front. In the pre-show, for those of you that didn't catch it, Duckling actually called out this game as his one to watch. And you know what? I actually said similar just in the green room too, because while this is still very much Bifrost favored on paper, this is a very intriguing matchup in terms of jungle matchup, because you look at DiamondProx as the player in the jungle who plays least for jungle advantage versus Scrooty, who's the player who does that the most. That could actually be a very interesting thing to track this game.
Absolutely, and the champions are pretty much exactly that as we head on to the Rift here. A volley bear for DiamondProx, all about making those early plays and getting things rolling for likely the Kalista lane, and it's the Lilia once more for Scrooty, who very nearly hard carried the game on Monday.
Now, in some seasons past, Kalista was a straight 2v2 champion. I would actually say Kalista is in a unique spot now as a 3v3 champion. You don't necessarily win lane completely on your own, or at least you don't win the game completely on your own. What you want is a little bit of attention bot side, which means you want a jungler which can help you do that early on into the game. Normally we see a Kalista Renata, but this is Kalista Nautilus. Now, what I can think of as a reason to pick that is because you want to have level 1 pressure. You can see both teams are stacking up, because on the other side, you got a Braum, another incredibly strong level 1 champion. I wonder how much of this has come out from scouting. I remember the first European Masters I did, which was summer last year. I had a chat to Lorx, who was the analyst of Vodafone Giants for that split. And he gave me some really interesting rundowns of the way that he looked at level 1s and kind of said, look, if I take a snapshot at like 1 minute 30, each time these teams kind of start doing their regular level 1s, let's see what we can exploit from this. I wonder if something came out from scouting there. Of course, nothing happens here, but I wonder how much has come out of the research from these two teams for that particular weird level 1, which we might not have all information on.
I also want to say, big improvement for Bifrost on that from Monday, where they kind of were a little bit lazy with their level 1 jungle tracking and got really punished with lane priority early invades, and Diamond was put 10 or so CS behind on the Bel'Veth very, very early on, off of some fantastic plays from Dusty and crew to really get in and start that early snowball against Bifrost, who honestly have looked significantly weaker when they haven't been able to get particularly OD rolling. Unusual start here on the Raptors, straight towards the blue buff.
That's exactly what I was going to call out. So I was doing some homework on the LPL the other day, and one thing which I think LPL junglers do very, very well, and this is something that was called out on their streams earlier in the week, is that LPL junglers vary their pathing to just throw a wrench into the pan very, very well. I think when you are doing something like, a Raptor start on volley bear, not going for, red Raptor's Gromp, quick level 3 in the fastest possible way, and then getting that red buff for the extra fight, just gives you that extra unpredictability. Actually looks like he's going for a reverse clear to make sure he can go back down onto the other side of the map. But information over to the side of Singularity, they get the priority from Lucian's Q early on in terms of wave control, which allowed them to see that Raptors have already been taken by DiamondProx. They just don't know whether it's taken first or second.
Worth pointing out as well that Fury's late walk into the jungle as well to put that ward on by the Raptors of Scrooty also spotted that out. So it will be a equal amount of knowledge, but of course Diamond just walking over that wall there will mean he's on vision as well, as maybe he's in a spot of bother, but with the bot lane priority, this would mean a bit of an ugly start for Scrooty potentially. Time for some vengeance from Monday, taking some lessons from Dusty apparently.
See whether this is going to evolve into anything more. Spiky and Pearson going to be down here, and Mers is here to the fight
the dredge line, but it will be the smite, and Diamond gets that, but can they now get out of danger as Mers coming over? Flash from DiamondProx, now she's going to be dead highway. They had the priority, but they lose out with the early rotation over from the bot lane from Singularity.
And honestly, the big thing is the mid prio. The question is this going to continue? You're still fighting against that Braum level 1.
This is risky. I don't know about this. Person's going to do some damage, but here comes Spiky on the other side. The exhaust coming through. Diamond trying to get some more out. Odie flashing away. Still alive now. Falls down, but I don't know if they've got quite enough damage. Spiky is here. Braum is destroying this. It's an absolute whitewash for Singularity in the early game, who tried to make something happen in the jungle, but the mid lane priority this time is the one that burns them.
And for both of these plays, Merzer coming in really, really clutched, and of course with Lucian being able to proc Braum's passives really well. at all stages of the game, that becomes a huge factor. We talked about this already. Normally you see Kalista Renata, the Nautilus gives you some level 1 pressure. Yeah, but there's a Braum on the other side. Singularity pivoted to that. We know that Bifrost, in various interviews they've had, have said, look, we just run at them with stronger champions in the early game. And it feels like they tried to do that this time, but again, they hadn't quite calculated the levels of power. This, however, from Singularity, flipping onto them for a second, is a great calculation for them to say, we can take this, we have the play. And suddenly, this bot side 3v3, which we talked about being so important to Kalista, has been destroyed early on by Singularity, and now Bifrost have to play against the head of a gold lead.
Massively true. Singularity do that though, sacked 2.5 waves for it. They sacked 1.5 bot and 1 wave mid to make that happen. So yes, they didn't quite have all the priority they wanted. Sips get stunned up and will get chunked out, but not too much more outside of that. And so there is some cost to Singularity making that, but honestly, considering like you lose those waves to make 3 kills happen, you're pretty happy with that.
And now, I mean, the big things are, you know, you have a huge jungle advantage currently for Scrudy. Scrudy coming back out onto the map. Tier 2 boots early, so important for a champion like Lilia, who's largely there for target access. DiamondProx is going to get caught out. No flash. This is so dangerous.
Slowed so much damage, but Fury's coming over. Will have the gravity field out, surely will do it. It'll force both Singularity members to back away. So a little bit of a chunk, not too much more blown for it. So successful invade mostly.
Well, the thing is, like, it's very risky making this play, but you have to now as DiamondProx, because you are sat there thinking, well, kill and assist on the other side. I'm very much outscaled by a Lilia, especially when they get onto their second and third clears. They just outpace what a Volibear can do in terms of access to camps on the map. So making those kind of plays to make sure you're just making sure that you're not as far behind becomes very, very important. Okay, next thing to track is what's going to happen in the bot side. You were talking about how waves were kind of sacked for this. Still a kill and 2 assists onto Spiky, and of course Pearson getting his own gold as well through the assists on all of those kills. Doesn't mean right now that Singularity's bot lane are controlling the 2v2. It does mean at least Bifrost have some platforms to keep Volibear relevant, as we were saying, at this point in the game.
Culling popped there by Mercer as he hit the level 6 first and gets a bit of a chunk out onto Fury, but not too much more as Diamond, I believe, spotted out there by the
bot again. Both junglers here.
And everyone is here. They're going to try and go for the swell seed. It misses, as does that Winter's Bite, and now Singularity will back away a little bit sheepishly as they miss the 2 skill shots.
Again, as soon as you see a Kalista locked in, you know that it's going to be bot side brawl. It doesn't matter which region you're playing in. It just ends up that way. Sips actually making a rarely seen, a lesser seen top laner, rather, coming down into that mid lane.
Oh, spot laner roam.
Spot laner.
Yeah, is that a new role that you come up with, Alex?
Yeah,
what is a spot laner?
It's not quite a River Shen. That's the only other thing which I can
So what it is, it's helping Mercer carry as a spotter in the gym. See?
That was such a reach. That was such a reach.
What do you want from me? You called it a spot lane.
I hold you to high standards, brother.
I thought that was okay. Okay, let's see how it is. Doku, if you're out there, stick a vote up on Twitter. I want to see how that one... Come on, make this happen. I'll fight for this one. Maybe this is probably going to go horribly wrong, but I've done it now. Anyway.
Okay, so,
yes.
Jungle advantage does mean that Volibear can't exactly run at the Lilia so easily anymore, which means that when Lilia decides to go to an area of the map, they're likely to get what they want. Next important thing on the map is probably going to be that Herald, of course, but with both of these 2v2s, you are likely looking at trying to get control of that bot lane first. And with that being said, Spike and Pearson looking to, well, they were channeling recalls, looking to see if they could get themselves a reset in time. But now they're choosing to stay. So it looks like it will be a top-side affair if Herald were to be started.
And of course, Herald is often a key point for something like a Kalista team who do love to try and utilize the level 6 spikes that tend to come around at that point, especially when you've got something like a Gnar or a Volibear as well, who are really powerful at that point. So see whether Bifrost are ready and willing to contest. And of course, Singularity right now with a little bit of that lane priority in their jungler up there could look for it themselves.
I was actually wondering if Fury was going to try and go for a bit of a harder trade. Of course, he doesn't have himself the teleport, though. He's got himself the cleanse, so actually choosing not to do so. Probably should check that one before.
There's level 6. Diamond just walking through mid lane for a bit of stolen XP. I was like, I wonder.
Hey, that's important. We see that a lot with supports, but in this case, we were saying, yeah, you know, Volibear hasn't really gotten all the resources that they could have done early on. This comes back into a conversation we were talking about, obviously, into pre-show, into the start of this game too, about what actually happens with these two teams and their two junglers, because DiamondProx typically has been playing for his lanes. You can see again, he was trying to play around his bot lane, whereas Scrudy It's played more for individual jungle advantage and jungle power. In this game right now, though, seems like DiamondProx is still brawly enough on an individual level to start up this Herald. Take that one without contest. And Singularity will have to now try and see what they're doing against this Herald. Now, you expect that Herald is probably going to go in towards that Kalista lane.
One would imagine.
It just means that if Singularity try and go for a cross maps versus Herald are just so annoying. So you're going to have to be trying to find ways to track where this Volibear is on the map to try and at least try and dissuade that Herald being used, because I feel like if you go across the map against the Herald, things just get very dangerous for you, particularly with the threat of a Kalista Volibear dive.
Completely agree, and on a very hard tangent.
Okay, where are we going with this?
A metaphysical question for you.
Right.
How are you both in the mid lane and casting at the same time?
Hang on, excuse me?
Victor's in the game.
Oh, come on. Not like that. It's actually what happens.
I love how confused you were there. You're the one that makes this reference more than anybody else.
True.
There is a graphic we have used at the NLC
you know,
with your face.
It's like when you get nominated for an Emmy.
Oh, I see how it is.
There's a little achievement which pops up just in the bottom left-hand corner of vision saying, you know, simulacrum unlocked. You can now have a second figure out there in the world. It's really useful for multitasking.
Did you just confirm that everything in the world is just like a simulation?
Well, I didn't not confirm it.
Okay. Big stun into the wall there as the Mega Gnar runs out, and we're going to move away from that horrifying consideration of the nihilistic solipsism of the world.
Okay, this is what we were saying about the threat of this Herald. Playing around Kalista Volibear as a level 6. Walking up to this tower in its own right, very, very dangerous. Singularity a little bit late to the punch. We said that they wanted to try and predict what was happening with the Herald, but they're not quite there in time. Can they find anything after this? He doesn't land from Scrooty.
Okay, they do get the knock-up, but they don't actually force a Fate's Call. So that's a couple attempts there with the ultimates, both the Enchanted Crystalline Arrow and the Glacial Fissure. There we go, that's the word of that, coming out for that. And now
Rudy making sure the engage can't come cleanly.
Well buffered by Highway to make a flash out of Scrooty despite the Lilting Lullaby coming down. Is now a little bit more at risk, but of course with the Fate's Call, still a potent threat.
Yeah, he's not on Highway to the danger zone this time. Remarkably calm for all things said and done. But yeah, let's just track what happened in that play, because Singularity, we were talking, actually they want to really try and nullify this Herald, get to the location of that play and stop it from getting maximum value. They don't really manage to do that, which means that Bifrost have a few more resources to play with. This Kalista gets more gold than they really should have had after that early game and how that skirmish went so badly against them. But this is something which we have to point out about, teams which have been struggling, maybe don't have those fundamentals in check compared to the mid-table teams. And Singularity, like many teams in their position in various leagues, just caught napping a little bit and not quite clean enough around their execution.
What do you know? Volibear at level 7 on a bot lane tower with very little health means there's a dive potential, and Diamond's just going to stand here despite the control run around the corner to try and force a little bit of a response from Singularity. Fourth plate goes down. Scrooty is about, but doesn't get too much more out of that.
But again, if you are a Bifrost fan, and I heard there were some on the street actually.
One or two.
About that, doing various things.
The weird tomato ketchup squeeze into the mouth was a bit
that just feels like a a national identity thing which I just hadn't tapped into. But with fans of this team, you are looking at Bifrost playing around 3v3 bot side, getting resources to Odie. That typically has been a very good thing for Bifrost. That's what happens when they win. What isn't typical of them, though, is I do believe Bifrost have no wins on red side, and they've only found their wins on blue side.
Seriously?
Yeah, actually, that was something that Don Jake pulled out. He, in the green room was saying, actually, hang on, what's happening with these statistics here? And particularly with the ability to play around this Kalista first pick and unlock that play style, it's looking pretty okay for the boys in blue on the blue side. Singularity, they've tried their best to shut down the bot side 3v3, which we keep mentioning. Well, I mean, it's very important, but I do keep mentioning it.
And
they've done their best to shut it down, but it's not quite taken the wheels off it yet.
No, it's still a slight gold lead to Singularity right now, of course, mostly off those early kills, and that's great news for them. They've got 2 Drakes early on as well. I believe that will not be a Cloud Rift by the by. That is a spectator bug. It is Hextech Soul, so that's something Singularity can continue to work towards. So they are in an okay spot themselves as well.
Always preferred Sephiroth Rift anyway.
Indeed.
Yeah. Another one, the better Mirza. Getting to the point now where after your first backs and items start coming in, Lucian can feel a little bit sad in this matchup.
Double lift about it.
Yeah, very much can. Of course, that matchup has changed so much over time.
Yeah, it's not Lich Bane Victor anymore, really.
No, I mean, that was a Season 5 thing for a while back when his ult was less about the damage over time, more about the immediate burst. The one-shot potential was huge.
Ow.
And just look at this. The thing which Victor does very well is against AD carries that... So, for instance, this is the thing which happened with Zeri when Zeri was very meta too. They dive into you, they try and burst you out, and you just pile damage on their face. Now, with Mirza being of a lower amount of HP, potions ticking, Bifrost... have to worry less about that Lucian running in around the edge of the fight and finding a dangerous way to play around that fight, threaten their various characters on the map. So, Bifrost still very much playing towards this bot side. Top lane has really not entered the equation yet. Barely even mentioned them, but it hasn't led to Bifrost going towards deeper vision quite yet. They're just slowly moving up that vision line.
On that point, as actually maybe we'll just keep an eye on whether Diamond decides that an engage onto Mirza is an option. Shikari, honestly, for someone we had a lot of praise for, the return of the King was one of our big narratives in spring, has been very, very quiet in summer. Like, Shikari has obviously had a lot more competition, I feel, in summer with some really, truly phenomenal top laners stepping up, the likes of Jax Blank as someone we've praised a lot, for example.
JC, right.
Exactly. And on honest, Shikari has been very quiet, honestly, for someone we had so much praise for thus far this summer.
It's really difficult to quantify Shikari as a player too. It was on Monday. We were talking a bit about what is Shikari's playstyle. It really feels dependent on the role he's playing for his team at that point. He's a very versatile player. Yeah. In this game, he's effectively here for teamfight impact and to be a stable solo laner. It's not like really he's going to be losing anything through top side. He's actually going to maybe be the cost of a cross map because Scrooty is on the top side, but actually no, it's going to be the Lilia doing what they do very, very well and just hoovering up camps and once again playing for jungle advantage. We mentioned that a lot this game too. It was very obvious on paper due to their playstyles. Talked about top lane playstyle. Of course, that jungle one's so important for this game. And Scrooty taking another couple of camps, getting a sizable lead over DiamondProx, which will only continue to grow if Bifrost can't go check their camps and protect them, because Lilia is so deadly in that regard.
Such a fast farmer as a Hextech ultimatum plus the flash puts Shikari in danger, but big Mega Gnaw means he can try and get out of this. And look who else is here. Scrooty's in danger. Flash out for Shikari. He's still alive. The King ain't gone quite yet. Finally falls, but it is a 1-for-1 and Bifrost punish on the top side.
Just see all of the fish in the water swimming towards that top side. It's Bifrost who managed to get the collateral after it. Jungler dies on one side, means you cannot contest for that. Herald, this was a very quick all-in. You know that the Lilia, talking about that individual advantage, actually very strong at this point in terms of the damage. See the amount of burst coming out. Pulls out that lilting lullaby, but the rest of the team from Bifrost are already on the roam. Fury might not have been there ready to respond for the very first few plays. It's Mirza who got the leg over him in that bot side fight, but this time he is first to the play, and that comes out very, very importantly for Bifrost to get them again more back to even. They're actually even in gold now. Of course, after that early set of plays, they were falling a bit behind with another Herald in pocket. Seems like they have a chance to regain that driving seat that they've typically had in early games playing around these Kalista comps.
Absolutely, and honestly, I thought Shikari was out there after he managed to get the flash. I thought they would be doing just fine, but of course the burn from Lily's passive, that Dream Dust, did a lot of work. And
the Andrews is already completed.
Yeah, exactly, so it should really have been, you know, following along from Arcane, right? We always know the powder is dangerous, and they go on from there, as we've got 20 seconds or so until that Hextech Drake will spawn.
So, this would be soul point for Singularity. One important point that would be it would allow them to control the pace of the game. Give up a couple of dragons, waiting for the one opportunity to take that dragon if they can, but are they willing to let this one up? Because of course, the Herald gives Bifrost an advantage. They can take control of this mid lane, walk up, take the tower, walked in towards that Herald, that dragon.
They're going to keep going, actually. They get the death charge in, get a big hook afterwards, and Spikey's just gone! Deleted! They get the second charge plus the kill, plus a culling. It's a decent lilting lullaby onto 2, but no real way to follow up. Shikari goes mega as a result of one final blooming blows, but Bifrost get a kill, get a tower, get a second charge. It can head over towards the dragon. And yes, Sips gets a tower in the top lane, but that's it.
And Spikey dying there when it felt like all of his team members were there ready to respond feels just very unfortunate. You have a Braum to stop people diving directly onto you, but it felt like maybe that Braum shield, the E, was used a little too early, not in place to defend the eventual all-in. And Singularity caught out a little bit. At least they get themselves some advantages on the side lane. If they don't get themselves that soul point, they don't get to take that advantage, which may have allowed them to really control this game in a way that could, of course, get them to that first win, matching that loss streak, sadly, from Spring. But it felt like this early game, like so many others for this new roster, was a shining light for them.
Speaking of, I think it probably is time to discuss again Scrooty with the Lilia graphic. Already only had a couple games, but that stats that were brought up in the pre-game, in the post-show, he's been really, really dominant for a jungler that's come in on a 0-13 team now and has put a lot of work in. Again, this game on the Lilia doing a lot of work, but sometimes it feels like Singularity in the mid-game, it's the macro plays that are hurting them.
Yeah, it feels like on an individual level, Scrooty's had some strong performances, played Kazakh's game, and had some big moments on that. He's played the Lilia, of course, once before too, and on individual power levels, from what we've seen from him, he has been taking a lot of resources, leading from the front, and that's been something that Singularity were kind of lacking. They didn't really have someone to stand up and say, all right, give me the resources, I'll be the person that we can play around. Of course, Spiky stepped into that role a little bit on stuff like the Twitch, but it wasn't quite the same. Speaking of him, blows the flash of Odie.
Does indeed, and of course this is an AD carry Ashe build. There's no Imperial Mandate or anything here, so a slightly longer cooldown, but even so, not a vast one to be burning here, and the cleanse going to be on a significantly longer one. All the while, of course, Tower on the other side goes down to Sips, who's now managed to get 3 on the trot, actually. That Trinity Force doing a lot of work, of course. Big hook in the middle, and just Scrooty, the man we've been praising. No stopwatch, no hope, and Highway sends him straight to hell.
This is the difficulty when you play a wider map versus a very reliable engaged champion like Nautilus. Of course, Kalista helps with that too. It's on the 20-minute spawn, means that this wide map becomes so much more constrained. It's all about that Baron.
Flashes straight over, Stormbringer forced to flash out a person, but now Mercer's in danger. He needs to get out, gets slowed by the chilling smite. Culling comes through, will get out of the gravity field, but look at Highway on the other side. Won't quite be able to find the additional engage, but they'll force out even more summoners and can return potentially back to the Baron should they so please.
Highway finding so many important angles in the last minute, takes down the enemy jungler, forces some flashes away, trades his own. This is the kind of play which Singularity have again started falling prey to. The individual plays have looked solid. Just outside of that, some of the team play lacking off up.
Other teams flash over the wall to the thundering smash. He's just gone, surely. The death rate's not quite enough. They're teleporting in, actually try and save this one. Enchanted Crystalline Arrow goes wild. Sips is here, but they'll stay alive. Mercer on sub 50 HP, if that.
Gosh, Singularity, again, feels like they're just not quite playing to the pace of the game, not quite there for the big fights when they've been erupting around the map. And Bifrost now, not the easiest early game for them, but they have managed to right themselves in a very admirable way. Again, this Kalista Nautilus is not the Kalista Renata, which is of course stronger in the 2v2, but it gives them so much more reliable engage, come to these points in the game, and they're using it effectively.
Absolutely, and honestly, you know, there was that pre-show graphic where we were talking about, look, Bifrost switched out the jungle support. Big tools when it comes to your playmaking and map moves and team fights. And honestly, we've had some questions about both Highway and DiamondProx. And the early game misplay in the jungle where they kind of didn't expect the sacking of the waves really hurt them. But in this mid game, we've seen now some pretty consistent picks and plays that have really punished Singularity.
Yeah. So next thing I'm looking for now is Singularity. You've been content to get a lot of advantages onto Sips, Ashe on Camille. Seems like that's what you've been doing. I think after, it's another hook. Is that too far though?
Keep going, maybe, I don't know. There's still the Fate's Call. Stormbringer come through that mid lane turret, does nothing right now. Does go into a big lilting lullaby. Diamond in danger, of course, with no flash. Sips coming over and he does get shut down. Can't quite secure it. Flash away from the Enchanted Crystalline Arrow. And I think it might have been too deep now. Sips with the Hextech Ultimatum. Maybe they can continue to push this one up. They get another, but it's traded back. Shikari about to go towards the Mega Gnar. We'll get out of there. It's a 2-for-1 trade, all things said and done, but wait, maybe not yet. Sips misses the hookshot, but Fury off to the side, in danger, needs to continue running away. A slow from the W into a second part of the Precision Protocol means Singularity can head to Baron.
And that is the kind of play where you look at your ultimates available and go, yeah, I can have a crack at that. Volley barrel, Kalista roll, so many ways to play around. Heavy dives, even very far into the enemy side of the map, but they're not understanding that they're playing into a Braum, that they're playing into the Lilia, who has that second item early into the game. They have themselves that Zhonya's to disengage, and you have the Kalista roll at this point. You can just back off if you think this is too far, but they really, really commit for this, and it feels like they just don't understand the power level of what Singularity are playing against them.
And it looked nearly so good, but Scrooty has a stopwatch. The slows from Ashe, from Braum. The lilting lullaby did so much work, and suddenly a charged up tower means there's a Baron on the table alongside now a Hextech Soul Point. And Singularity, honestly, He's got to start wondering again now after some of these misplays.
Yeah, so let's have a look at the track of this game. Early game, typically something that Bifrost, when they've played around bot side, have actually been comprehensive at. They know how to play around it and get what they want out of it. Didn't get it this game. Found some ways back in that mid game. Can they do it against the Baron now?
Massive play, but now the tower on the other side is probably problematic. As Shikari over the wall will melt him more in Singularity. Not like this. It's a double ready to Fury. And then Shikari gets a third, and the Baron, the play, the praise we were giving them, it falls apart just moments later.
Once again, our teams here at the NLC, they do make some aggressive plays which lead to mistakes, but every team in the NLC can capitalize on your mistakes when you show that inch of flesh. Bifrost had to claw their way back a couple of times in this game, even against the winless Singularity, but even against the Baron, taking a crushing victory against it.
Very swiftly, it goes from a Baron and a Dragon and a great look for Singularity to a broken inhibitor and some broken pride to boot.
Breaking some ankles too with Shikari. You know, we've managed to stop off and chat about some of the trajectories of our players in general across this game. Chat a little bit about Shikari, about, oh, what's his play style like? He plays a little bit for his team. He's a versatile player, but he's been quiet this summer. That was a pretty loud declaration of his intent in this game. Gets a pivotal ultimate under that tower. Singularity sets up to start something in this siege. It is just not enough. And again, return back to that point for them. It just felt like the right idea, felt like it was the obvious place to go, break down this last outer turret, but the execution wasn't quite there. And the second time
it again, another hook from Highway! This teleport's coming through, but Mercer surely just gonna die. Nothing to be done. It's a tower for a kill, but now your mid laner is Dennis Fury on the other side. They're taking a lot of damage. Golden goes Scrooty, he's staying alive, and maybe they can do this. And Sips is here this time. DiamondProx goes massive with the Stormbringer though, and Sips can't hook shot out of this. Hopping mad is that Kalista. The Spear of Vengeance manages to punish people for the death of their mid laner. Spiky gets his sky split in twain, cannot avoid the boulder, and falls down as well.
Try it once to that mid lane outer turret. I guess shame on them. Twice though, shame on you, Singularity. Didn't have the setup to deal with the engage that Bifrost were bringing in. Highway once again finding a pivotal hook. It's a hitbox snipe. Your champion model is just a little bit thicker than those minions, and that Lucian's booty gets caught out by that dredge line. Hook back in, and suddenly without that amount of damage to turn the fight around, Bifrost get to play around the more long fights for the Kalista, stacking up, continuing that DPS, and Bifrost, it's another one of their heart attack games where they keep it in question, but they're showing how they can play around these skirmishes when they have the tools to.
Well, booty indeed. Piracy on the high seas. Odie looking more like he's playing Misfortune right now, getting away with absolute murder, getting off a few of those kills at the end of that, and Sips went in, looked like he might be able to murder people in the back line and just couldn't extricate themselves.
Maybe we could edit Highway's Nautilus model so like the hook is actually just like, it's got another one at 90 degrees, so it's X marks the spot.
It's not Pike.
Yeah. But he's, that's true. It's true.
The amount of puns I've made with that over the years.
True. But now we sit ourselves in a game where Singularity still have Soul Point. They still have a pushing side lane in Sips too. Feels like Shikari's not really been tasked to answer that too much, but see what our analysts think in the back room, and actually what we're kind of viewing as well.
Yeah.
Momentum meter very much to the side of Bifrost. Would I say it's that much? I still think there are ways they can lose this game, very much so. I mean, I think one good angle by Sips, one good ult by Scrooty could change the tone of that game so much, but with the last couple of fights, the Singularity struggling to make their own offensive plays. Their defensive plays have looked okay, but their offensive ones have been leaving them very, very open to exploitation by Bifrost. It's going to be very difficult now to find themselves an angle into this next Dragon fight where it feels like they have lost control of this map. They don't have flank vision, they don't have easy ways into it, and Bifrost are starting to get control of the area of the map that they want to play around.
This isn't the easiest game to be playing the Lucian or the Ashe, honestly, to be fair. And yes, you've got the lead onto Scrooty, but as we've said, look, your Volibear is quite happy where he is right now. And it's your solo laners, your AD carry that are struggling a little bit more, aside from, of course, Sips in the side lane, a dangerous threat. But how much time are you going to be given as he does start to shove in a top wave towards an inhibitor turret here at level 16. He is the highest level in the game, and Shikari's going to come over and try and stop. He's got a stopwatch. It shouldn't be the easiest to remove, but he's going to try and prevent an easy access to that inhibitor tower.
Yep. Shikari's got a few items of his own. It's not like he's got something like a Hull Breaker. Been a while since we've seen that on the Knight. Instead, he's gone for the Triforce Black Cleaver. Very strong at kiting, lots of move speed involved in that build. Maybe enough to get away from a Camille and just outspace them. Speaking of that Camille, committing to the fight. Shikari hits Mega, has Gnar.
But what is Singularity going to do? They're about to get pinned here. There is a Mega Gnar still here with 2/3 left remaining. That dredge line goes wide. Now Bifrost actually a little bit got out of sorts. Highway still got the Fates called Cleanse Burn from Odie. Shikari down to Mini. Now in a dangerous position. Bifrost need to extricate themselves, but can they escape it? The Lilting Lullaby
Shikari's not there.
The Dolly Bear does ult now. Highway into a lot of damage though. He's about to go down. Diamond taken pretty low as well. Shikari goes golden. Sips actually also very low. Big stopwatch keeps him alive. Diamond dies. But what about the other side of the fight? Sips finally dead, but it's a 2-for-1 right now. Person about to get hooked up and goes down. Odie trying to stay alive, but Fury and Odie are the only ones remaining. And it's a double for Scrooty. Flashball for the watch out here, but the blooming blows. He can keep hopping as much as he wants. Odie burning out has got to try and heal back up off this Krug camp. And will do so, but that is still a 2-for-4 off a bit of an awkward choice in fight.
Look at that momentum shift. Everyone in the back room thinking what we're thinking. Oh, heck, that's a bad fight to lose. You're losing your chokehold over the map now. A fight like this, to this magnitude, loses you Baron, means you can't upkeep your vision. Your wards are going to start timing out, and that gives Singularity a chance to get uncontested control of this map. They'll get themselves the Baron, be able to reset in a time where Bifrost can't just run over to the other side of the map and get all the wards that they want to. Game on is going to be Singularity with a firm chance of getting themselves the first victory in this game. And Bifrost, we did have some questions, inconsistent performances, even in their wins. Even though they've shown such a high upper skill ceiling, it's moments like this where you just can't help but question our spring second place team. Had such a great split in that point, but they are again struggling even against our 0 and 13 Singularity, not giving them an easy game at all.
And let's be real, it felt like some split calls. Are we going in, are we not? And then they just kind of hover around and get in trouble, as this is where it all gets messy again.
Well, I mean, at the start of this fight, you see that Shikari has timed out a Mega. The timing window has passed, it's gone. And when you're in that 5v4 against the Camille, who doesn't have to be worried about getting immediately CC'd in place, it gets so difficult. Strudy just choosing to press the go button, sending someone to sleep and letting the team pounce.
Yeah, it has to go golden. I've realized it's probably not winning that 1v1 in the way I thought I might. Have, of course, got this Baron power play. The last one didn't work out as well after Highway found a phenomenal hook. But this time, no one has died. This time, the shove goes on in earnest.
And I think the big thing is what we were talking about just before that Baron was taken. Actually, because of the death timers and the amount of people that have died from Bifrost, the wards have started to time out now. You don't really have great flank angles. You got a couple, you can work with some stuff, but they don't have the vision chokehold that they had. They don't have waves pushing at this point either. Sips has control
Going straight in onto Scrooty, but they can't get too much more in. Trying to crystalline around, the culling comes through, so big ultimates now down as Highway's gone in, but they do have the Fates call to pull him out if they need to. It is used. Shikari goes to sleep, but a lot of ults burned, but no one is dead.
And that's the thing, right? So when you've got ults blown on either side, it just means that the fight is less likely to happen. Who does that benefit? Singularity. They have themselves, as we said, control over the lanes that they want. Sips taking those other waves in those solo lanes to make sure he's got control.
Oh, no.
And Bifrost are going to struggle to find their engages to, again, try and punish Singularity in the way they did around that first Baron, where they were pushing in towards that mid-outer turret. And you know what? The more we talk about this game, the closer it gets. We are once again in a very close contest for Singularity, looking to get that first win. Mirror what they did in spring, 30 losses on the trot into that first win. And Singularity, you know what? They've had some rough patches, but they've had equal amounts of good ones in this game.
Yes, they have. Doing their best to make sure this could be a victory. Fourth item now in for Scrooty, who is continuing to be at the front of the charge for Singularity. For better or worse, some of them been a little off, but most of them honestly have been pretty exceptional towards the last few minutes.
So, I mean, the Lilia went for the Leandries into the Zhonyas, then the Force of Nature, give themselves that more sticking potential, facilitate a little more, use that gold to allow the double AD carries an easier time. You called it out. Actually, it's a pretty hard game for the Lucian and the Ashe. But they've, of course, in some of these fights, managed to find some really good angles. Now with the Demonic Embrace, bit more damage on top of that. Again, these E's, again, you're going to see the amount of burn damage coming down. Even something like Highway not going to be immune to the continued Swirl Seeds being flung out of that jungler.
Eyes on Sipswell, who is not here, who is looking to get onto an inhibitor turret. They are sending Shikari off to try and defend that turret, but I think he's just going to be too late. I think he's not got there in time. That will be an inhibitor turret falling, surely.
Takes it so quickly. For those of you that were still around in 2018, that was the Camille split push meta. Towers just disintegrated. Nothing has changed since then. Engage coming in.
Cleanse from Fury. That's down, but they've also they're going to lose this inhibitor as well, because of course Sips is going to continue shoving, and Shikari can't do anything about this. Singularity in a phenomenal position.
Why would Singularity flip over a dragon? Singularity say, okay, top lane, that's a done deal. Let's go towards this mid lane. Have they over-pushed though? Bifrost potentially able to find themselves a collapse onto this team if they want it. They take the dragon. They actually just give up the inhib, not willing to commit to a huge fight. So what happened last time they tried to go towards a split pincer movement and they didn't get the timing quite right. Singularity tore them apart for it and took control of this game. But Singularity, we called them out for some of their macro problems, said that they're an individual team playing around individual advantages. Right now, they are taking control of this game with better map play.
Absolutely. Never mind tearing apart the individual players, we'll tear apart the base instead. Get a hold of, in swift fashion, 2 inhibitor turrets, 2 inhibitors for the trade of 1 dragon. Yes, both now at soul point. But honestly, with Baron spawning a minute and a half and the pressure you get from having those 2 inhibitors down, Singularity in a pretty confident position here.
They've still got to find a way to shut Odie out of this game. 7-1 and 4. That's still only the 1 kill onto that champion. Now, Odie hasn't been able to win all of the fights for his team. It's not been that easy, but still, Singularity not able to shut down that carry, nor have they been forcing onto him. Maybe just trying to avoid the Kalista sat at that many items. Singularity going to have to deal with him at some point or later, though, or somehow nullify his impact on these fights. Maybe that's why they've been going more towards those side lanes, getting the guaranteed victory rather than flipping it against one of our strongest individual carries from the bot lane position in our league.
Of course, you've now got to work out how it goes from here. There's the Infinity Edge complete for Merza, who will start stinging that little bit more, let's be real. And a minute under 45 seconds, let's be frank, to go until this Baron. 2 in a row have gone towards Singularity. Very funny.
I get that total. I get told that a lot.
With that kind of tone of voice as well?
Other people.
Okay.
So, back to a little bit of a 1-4ing Singularity. Again, this is the bonus of having something like a Braum when it comes into this point in the game. If you're trying to just run into the enemy team, use a Volley Bear, use a Nautilus to go into the fray, Braum hits you with that passive, puts up that shield, you're not really getting the damage you need to, and you take so much damage in return when you're CC'd by one of the best champions of blocking enemy champions from your carries. And that's very important when you are on a defensive standing, when you're trying to take an area of the map and say, do not enter here. They're doing that around the Baron. Bifrost, how do you problem solve your way out of this one?
And all the while, they've sent actually Odie down towards this bot. So Sips now in danger. They missed the Mega Nano, and that means Sips going to get out of there. They're going to stop the Baron on the side because there's no way Odie can get there. That's going to be at least a 4v3. It could be a 5v3 because Sips can TP and the Baron's just gone.
So that was the problem-solving attempt. Right, don't want to go into this phalanx, the word we use so much, this fortress that Singularity just move across the map and say, 4-man unit, this is going to be safe. They try and put their strongest member towards the bot side. Doesn't even manage to get Sips. Shikari trading flash just at the end, but Sips so happy for that. It's a 3rd Baron now for Singularity. It has been a belabored game, but it would mean all the more for them if they could finally walk away with this win. They are still in control of this game so far. They have been pushing into the enemy side of the map. Bifrost probably haven't seen across the river for such a long time now. We're probably going to see once again Singularity playing around their strong grouped unit, allowing Sips to take control of another lane somewhere. Just try and crush Bifrost. Bait in the engage, then respond to it. That's been what's been working for them so far. Bifrost need to find a way to break open this map pressure because they're struggling so
actually going to take. He tried to find Diamond. Actually going to get punished. His person's in danger as well. Need to try and work this one out. They're going to have to burn the Lilting Lullaby to try and disengage onto the blast cone. Means DiamondProx not in too much danger, but that's a flash and an ultimate burn. And that's not great news.
So Odie getting involved in the game is one way to solve this crisis, but it is only one drip in the bucket they need to fill to put out this fire.
Sips.
Singularity still in control.
Need to be a little bit afraid they're going to get knocked back and overcome Bifrost. There's 2 members, but the rest of Singularity are so far away. A depth charge will find his way onto that Camille. No GA, and that means a shutdown to Odie.
So, once again, Bifrost find a member of Singularity out of position, get something for free. Odie going again.
Not done. They get the inhibitor tower, but not too much more as Diamond over to the side with the Hex Gates. Could keep hunting for more. They're going to slow them down with the volley, but look at that Nexus tower falling. Of course, it was already taken pretty low, and that's it, but they get 2 kills. They'll break the siege, but it comes at something of a cost.
Right, so key problem there for Singularity. They tried to commit before, successfully to a 1-4. They've been trying for a long time to try and play around those multiple lanes. They go A little too split this time. Bifrost picked them off, and that means they're in the advantage for the soul point fight.
2 members dead. There is a teleport on Sips, but it will still be 10 seconds or so until he's there, which means with Kalista, there's surely no easy way for Singularity to come and contest. This will be sold to Bifrost, surely.
So, Bifrost, you've been in this place before. It's a bit of heart attack. It's a bit of drama in a late game fight. Maybe you shouldn't have ended up here, but you got to deal with it. Now you are. Singularity give over control of the map for the first time in such a long time, but it is in that crucial timing. Hex Soul to Bifrost now. They have themselves
4
that
Drakes
victor.
to make it as well.
Courtesy of that Hex Tech Revolution, it's on the map, it's on their team, and so many items being built up by both sides now. It is going to be a heavyweight clash whenever anyone gets a chance to just open up and start DPSing.
And let's be real, honestly, with those basic dragons actually being pretty potent for Hex Drake as well. It's what, 6% attack speed and ability haste for both?
5 ability haste and 5 attack speed.
That's what it is.
Last that I checked.
I can't remember what the numbers are. Otherwise, 4 of them's quite a lot.
But actually, yeah, in terms of individual value per dragon, Hex Tech Dragon is probably the best in the game unless you're stacking up against some poke comps with a whole load of tanks and Mountain Dragon. It is just such a valuable set of objectives to have. So, that's some extra weight to the side of Bifrost. And again, we're in actually a fairly even scenario. Seems that Singularity, hard to break them open if Bifrost try and go on the offensive. On the other side, Singularity haven't been able to cleanly open the map at this point, and now it does feel like, for the first time in such a long time, Bifrost are actually managing to hold their own in some of these lanes. Singularity, all it takes would be one mistake. Is this it?
Over the wall, and they've got a teleport coming through as well. Diamond did go in with that Stormbringer with separate Scrooty, now looking for a lilting lullaby. Missed on the dredge line, now they're teleporting in turn. Shikari is stunned in place because of Mega Knight coming. Now they need to try and disengage, but what about Sips, who's in so very deep? Shikari will be traded out, surely. It's a 1-for-1. They're gonna die, but remember the GA, which means Shikari can come back, but he'll die now as well. On the way to Bifrost go, trying to get in onto Scrooty, but DiamondProx slowed down, being chased down. Maybe he burns out. Watch out, eat. Scrooty goes golden. All the while, they're beginning to win this. Singularity beat them 13 times, but surely not 14. Odie alive. Fury is there as well, and this is now a 2v3, but with the inhibitors exposed, they need to find a way back in. Spiky about to get murdered by a Victor, but not quite yet. Merza gets him. Merza gets him, and Bifrost are about to be melted down to the quick by Singularity.
And no team wanted to be the first to fall to Singularity. This accursed team in the NLC. 0-13 in spring, 0-13 in summer, but so close to that Nexus.
They've got another inhibitor, but will they feel confident enough to shove for more? I just don't know. I just don't know.
With 5 seconds left in Shikari, the game's not ending here, but it is so close to that tipping point. It is on the razor's edge, and how quick would it cut either side with one more mistake? Bifrost, they're feeling pressured at this point. It comes through in their play. Singularity, for the longest time at this point, have managed to defend themselves very effectively. Diving into this 4-man unit you see on the right-hand side of the screen is very, very difficult. And even though Sips goes down, the 4-man unit still stays alive. There is basically no backline access after this point. You've still got slows, still got plenty of damage coming through, and the double 80 carries stay alive. It is basically just trying to get onto those targets. And even though Kalista and Victor, they have so much DPS if they're hitting targets, when you have an extra carry in the jungle too, it seems like it is enough in these tight skirmishes between the two teams.
It's a blustery day because Singularity are kiting up a storm. It feels like so hard to close a distance, and this will now be, I believe, the 4th Baron in a row.
I believe it is. It's getting up to a high number of these objectives. This is going to be a Baron going down. It is going to be desynchronized with the Elder. It means that Singularity can just, again, choose to rock up to one of these objectives. Bifrost in the same way. Singularity, actually serious credit to them for continuing to keep control of the map. A lot of that has come through this Camille side lane pressure. A lot of it has come from just rolling around as a death ball where they can. Bifrost once again feeling pressured into going towards the group's unit, but they can't land the hook this time. The mid game was determined by Highway missing or hitting those hooks. He can't quite do it in the late game.
Touch careful, of course, as the Lilia, pretty quick. Sips in. He's going to miss the pierced as Odie, and that means that Sips for now, safe, no slow, no damage. Inhibitor number 3 falls. I mean, Singularity with Baron and all lanes shoving can start to siege on the final Nexus turret.
How much can they do with this? Because again, actually Singularity on their aggressive plays have struggled too. Let's remind everyone, it has been really the aggressive plays which have been failing mostly. So Singularity, even though they have these waves pushed in, they're not hitting that last turret. They don't feel confident enough to dive into that Kalista, into that Victor. These two carries are so high damage too. 4 items with a death cap involved on Bifrost.
Minutes until the Elder Dragon comes through as Merza throws out a culling, doesn't get too much, actually gets slowed. Stormbringer afterwards, more slows, but they're going to get stunned out in place with the Enchanted Crystalline Armor, and DiamondProx cannot quite close the distance.
Oh, is that going to have to force the cleanse? It is. Fury has to now blow that.
Onto the final Nexus turret, they're just going to keep shoving. Singularity in danger, but that's a stopwatch from Merza, who does still have a little bit more to go, but gets taken out! Odie gets the shot down! What about Sips? Has got a Guardian Angel, needs to get escaped there with the hook shot. Mid laner dies, Nexus turret stands.
And again, you can see it is so hard to deal against anti-dive threats on both sides. Feels like both these teams have recognized it. It's just a case of reaching that point of desperation, the point of, look, it's a bad option, but it is the only option left available. 10 seconds until the Elder Dragon. Baron's still available for Singularity. But at this point, Bifrost, with so little remaining in their base, Super Minions crashing down on them, it adds such an extra factor to the scales when they're trying to set up towards this Elder Dragon. Again, it's a bad option for them. It's so dangerous, it is so risky, but it is the option they have.
0 and 13, maybe not 0 and 14, they're on the edge of it. Elder Dragon spawns and Bifrost emerge from their base with their, well, what remains of it, frankly, the ruins that stand there to try and maybe contest. Diamond with ult might go in for a Hail Mary.
The ruins of their base. Ozymandias said something about hearing them, looking at their works and trembling. Bifrost trembling
There's a
now.
Scroody's in very deep, but look at the stun. Diamond going down, stays alive. Now needs to try and escape one of the look at the bot lane. Indeed, you've got 2 members in there. It's a GA Pontus. Bifrost rapidly trying to return to the base of the Elder Dragon, still going down. Highway is going to fall as well. They're losing the base. I think they've done it. Singularity, 0 and 13. The curse is broken.
Bifrost being felled by Singularity. No one wanted to be the first team to fall to this roster, which has struggled through both splits to find any semblance of success. It has taken multiple roster changes. It has taken a hell of a lot of goddamn work. Singularity, the 14th time of asking, find themselves on the board. Congratulations. Good to have you on the wins.
Unlucky for some. They found the win, eh? Straight to the desk from here. I think you've had enough words from us.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. You have something to say, I think. Oh my God, man. What?
Nobody beats Singularity 14 times. It's not possible, you can't do it. And the thing about Singularity is the pulse, yeah, absolutely. You can't beat them 14 times, they're unbeatable. It's the buff, baby, the curse is broken, and they had to break their back doing it, but they did it eventually, Archeron.
In versus Bifrost of all teams. Yeah. It's the 14, it's the 14, it has to be. The Volibear was picked, the early game was there. So let's dive into this. We need to understand that Bifrost wanted to fight head on, but Singularity were aware of the plan, and they got penalized by it. We have a replay from the first one where they tried to get the invade, and all of a sudden, everything goes south.
This is not,
it's not it, but doesn't matter.
It's not the aforementioned invade, but we want to talk about the gameplay of here. This is the fight before Baron here, where I feel like Bifrost go in, and then they go into multiple CC targets. Scroody gets a really good Lilia ult, and it means that on the chase here, they can actually turn it around, and constantly this is the case. Bifrost had to play very forward, but the problem was there's so much disengaged from the composition of going into Singularity that if they don't get those key picks off, it's so hard to carry on and keep the consistency.
And this highlights what I was talking about, because it seemed like Bifrost wanted to slow down the game until they have enough lead to fight it. And this was the fight that they tried to get with that lead. They were like, okay, finally we can fight Singularity head on. Again, go south. Every single time Bifrost thought they had the lead versus Singularity, it went south. Duckling, why?
The thing to me, the Ashe pick had a ginormous impact in this game. One thing I really liked is the fact that they were so good at kiting back. As soon as DiamondProx ran towards them, he got slowed up, he got CC'd. It was very hard to play the Volibear in that case because the Ashe pick just was so useful at denying the opportunity to engage. He would have had to go around and find a flank instead, but with the tanky Volibear build, that's not your main goal. Your main goal is to be the front line and engage, and he couldn't really be the engage, only the front line, and that means they couldn't get onto the carries like Spiky on that Ashe and like Mercer on the Lucian.
And I thought throughout the game that Bifrost were making a good macro reading, trying to outplay Singularity in different ways. Let's be honest, the way Singularity finished the game was the best macro we've seen of them so far. Not right, Don Jake?
And that's the thing I want to highlight. It's a shame we didn't get to see that first replay because it really shows the cerebral kind of development of Singularity. We get to see this anyway, but yeah, this is a higher level of kind of just cerebral kind of understanding of how to play the map that we've never really seen from Singularity before. Singularity were the team that just get blown over constantly, not able to survive against the winds of fortune some of the teams were able to throw at them. Now they are weathering the storm, Archeron. They're able to kind of be the cardinal direction of just incredible stuff. And we saw it this game. I think that early kind of avoidance of the aggression that Bifrost were going to show was a really good read. We're starting to see them look forward.
Okay, I have two things to say about this because we did a really good topic in the beginning of the show to talk about Bifrost and the strength of schedule where they need to fight versus these teams to get access to playoffs. So if possible, I'd like to bring that one back so you understand how difficult of a road Bifrost have ahead of them after losing versus Singularity. For Singularity, it's nothing more than surviving relegations. But look into this. They had Singularity, and that was the game they were supposed to win. Now they have to fight versus JDXL, almost undefeated. M&M, defeating of Kings. X7, the renewed team. And Vanir, the team that is looking to take away 6 spots to make into playoffs.
I can't really stress this enough. Losing this game is not okay for Bifrost. There's a lot of ramifications around this in terms of whether or not the stakes this game had for them. And now they're in a position whereby Vanir wins later today, and they're 1 game away from Bifrost. Now the race is truly on.
Now, the second thing that I want to bring in is we need a restraining order for Duckling versus the momentum meter, because if you guys were watching the game, he was the one, +5 to one, +5 to the other one. It was going mental inside of the room. I'm just going to say, it was really lovely to watch you get excited with that game.
I mean, it's national pride. Finally seeing Singularity pick up a win. Felt great. I feel so good for the substitutes as well. You could feel like they wanted the win. I was chatting with Persson when I came home last week as well, and he said, I'm just tired of losing. And I said, you know, maybe you get it. Against Nariki, that seemed like a reasonable choice, but then they lost that as well. It was heartbreaking. So to finally see that team get the win and against our EU Masters top 8 team in Bifrost, yes, they might not be doing that well anymore, but it's against a big organization here in the North. It must feel so great, and I'm so happy for the players.
An organization that made top quarterfinal in EU Masters and then got DiamondProx, the Legend Highway as well, really good engagement, and all of a sudden it doesn't work. This was a bizarre adventure, and might as well talk with one that is from a bizarre adventure, which is Jojo, for the interview of today. Welcome to the show. I mean, okay, you're sweating, you're loving this. How are you feeling?
I'm sweating, and I wasn't even playing. I'm shaking here. Like, that game was so chaotic to watch. It's just crazy. Just glad lads could finish it off.
Jojo, okay, it seemed like Bifrost had your number at the beginning of the game. They were like, okay, we're just going to invade. It's Singularity. What could go wrong? Was the team aware that Bifrost had this plan? Because it certainly seemed like it.
I mean, we saw them coming on the ward, so, I mean, we knew that they would have bot prior, and he would probably look for invades, but we capitalized on their mistake there, so that was just good to see from the team, you know, the synergy paying off.
I need to ask you something. Were you inside of the call when Singularity won?
Yeah, I was there, and it's a lot of screaming.
By those last few comms of mute everything that is not allowed on broadcast and bring me what to you highlighted as soon as you guys got the victory.
You know, maybe we'll upload it for you, and then you can watch it there.
I mean, I want to see that one. I really want to see that one. So effectively, what does this mean to Singularity?
It's always good to get a win on the board, and that no one can beat Singularity 14 times in a row, you know?
It's the legend.
We're here to get some more wins coming, hopefully next few weeks, and, you know, be strong for relegations or, you know, catch up with the other teams, I don't know.
And that's the thing, the team is aware that relegations is in order for you guys, and teams in second division are really hungry. They have been talking on interviews like, we're going to take Singularity. Natives, that is in first place in Division 2, told me yesterday, it's Singularity, baby. That spot is ours. What do you have to say to them?
Well, we're going to stomp them. That's all I have to say. If we're there.
Jojo.
So,
Oh boy.
Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. Thank you so much for this interview. Congratulations on the first victory of the split. And I'll see you soon. Have a nice one.
thank you.
Go celebrate, man. Go celebrate. Get out. And there you go. Jojo is feeling well. The team is comfortable now. And this is a mental boom for Singularity. And they know. They're going to relegations. They know. Natives is looking for that spot. And I like to build this narrative because it's important. But there you go, first victory.
In particular, right? You're highlighting Natives as the main team in NLC Division 2. I think that's completely right. I know there are many teams, but I've been talking, with them, the head coach of Natives, and they want that NLC spot. You mentioned it themselves. That has been the goal from the beginning. And, in Spring Split, it seemed more reasonable that they would be able to do it. Same in the start of summer. But if this Singularity keeps improving, I can't guarantee that we'll see Natives in NLC Division 1 or any other NLC Division 2 team manage to take down Singularity. I think it is a massive win for them, and it definitely increased their chances of staying in NLC Division 1 tenfold.
So we talk about the good for Singularity. Let's talk about the bad for Bifrost. This is a big nail in the coffin of the playoffs run. They have to fight versus teams that are really, really scary nowadays. Don, Jake, preach.
I don't want to lie to you. I don't want to be in this game for two. Baby, bye-bye Bifrost, because we might be seeing them descending out of playoffs. They're tumbling out of control. And we spoke about the individuality, we talk about the identity that needs to be found. They seem like lost souls at the moment out there. Against a team like Singularity, I feel like that are coming into form. I feel like you can't slip up here because the strength of schedule, like you said, so is like this is really not the game to slip up on.
It's menacing because none of those teams are allowed to lose as well if they want to get good seeding into the playoffs. You need to get access to the third one. For those of you who are not aware, the third seed will allow you to pick between the fifth and the sixth one. So that is really good for you, like to make sure that you can decide on the opponent that you want to fight against. So obviously these teams are not allowed to lose as well. So the stakes couldn't be higher now in the NLC. I don't know if we have the next interview. Okay, we have from Bifrost, DiamondProx. Okay, we have a switcheroo. Diamond, we have a lot to talk about today. I feel like this loss is impactful for your team. How are you feeling? And looking into your schedule, what can you tell me?
I think it's obviously a disaster to lose to the last place team, and they also play very bad, but I guess we can play worse. It's totally possible from just a recent experience. I guess from now we just need to go to the beginnings, because you don't lose to such bad teams when by random occasions, just by sleeping once. It's something that you have to start working from the very basics, like fix the communication, the trust, and the ability to try doing your best no matter what. And I think if we will do the right work on it, then they still have time to come back, but it's a lot of work.
Diamond, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going even deeper now. For those of the viewers that are part of the community long enough, they know you. You are supposed to be an unbreakable wall of tilt. You've been in the league community for a long time. I mean, I played competitively, and you stumped me on one of those tournaments that I played with, and supposedly you are untiltable. But let's be honest, how are you feeling after this one? Because you have to fight off versus Astralis, JDXL, X7. What do you believe your chances are right now? Be real with me.
I wouldn't say I'm untiltable, but
it's hard to tilt you.
Yeah, but this loss is not what it takes to tilt me. It takes more. I'm pretty sure it takes more. As for the chances against the teams that are competing for the playoff seats, I feel like if we fix our problems, as I said, I still see us being a good team and making the right decisions to compete for the playoffs at least, and maybe doing something in the playoffs as well. I don't think we can, anyone can count us out because we lost today. So it's just we have to work hard now.
Let's be honest, if there's anyone with experience and the knowledge to bring a team back from the mental boom, I think you're one of them. So best of luck now. This is going to be a rough patch, but I'd like to see what you guys can do. You're still the hope from spring. Let's see how you do in summer. Thank you so much, DiamondProx. It's always a pleasure. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys.
I think he's the right man for the job to talk with the team. And like, I have a lot of experience, a few years. Probably more than your entire career, guys. But so let's talk about what we can do to move forward.
You didn't even know what I was doing before this.
Me?
Yeah, you don't even know.
I have no idea.
Neither do I.
That's the thing. Let's look into the standings to understand how Bifrost finished this day, at least the beginning of the day. 6th place, 7-7. 1 game behind X7 and Vanir. If they win today, it's 1 game away. And let's remind everyone that the last game of the split for these two teams is against each other, Vanir versus Bifrost.
One thing that we mentioned in the pre-show, right? For Vanir to have a chance really at playoffs, they needed things to go their way, and this is the definition of things going away. Bifrost dropping the game to Singularity gives so much hope to Vanir, the players, the fans, and everyone associated with the organization out there. So I think this is a very big mental win for them as well, that they know that, okay, Bifrost, they just lost to the last place team in the league. They might drop some more points up against JDXL and X7, so we might actually be able to close the gap if we perform well. So it feels like it's getting back into their own hand of winning this.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about dropping the ball, though, is in terms from Bifrost, you still got to pick it up, right? It's on the ground right now. It's for Vanir to be able to take it here. I feel like they can make a real dent in terms of their playoffs run, if they can take that win today. But we've yet to see that, obviously, and it's something we need to keep track on for later.
So if we're